Hey, what's up you guys, it's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to go into chapter 8 of Lost by James Patterson, so let's get right into this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, I suggest you click off the video now. You have been warned. Amsterdam. Hannah Greet looked out the wide bay window of the apartment she's converted into an office. She and her 12-year-old daughter Josie lived in the apartment next door. She'd spent a small fortune to purchase both apartments and have a door installed between them so that she could go from one to the other easily. She stared down at the tourists rushing around on the street below. Hannah liked living in the De Wallen district of Amsterdam, the old town quarter, because of the nice apartment buildings, the safe streets. Tourists loved to tell people back home that they wandered through the red light district and looked at the canal for a visits through the wall just because below her window. They were even organized tours of the red light district with guides and everything. The guides always said how great the young girls in the brothels had it, how they chose their own hours, took only the customers they wanted, didn't mind showing off their bodies in the windows. The charade made Hannah sick. She knew what these girls really went through. There was no glamour in prostitution, not unless you controlled a whole stable of prostitutes. But the tourists ate it up. They'd take photographs around the sex shops and tell their friends back home about how they'd seen real-life prostitutes. Big deal. Amsterdam was a city that had historic sites in every form. But all of the tourists wanted to talk about was the legalized marijuana and prostitution. Hannah had just finished speaking to someone in the United States. She made a quick calculation in her mind and realized that 6 kids she'd been trying to smuggle into the U.S. had cost her about 11,000 euros so far. That wasn't even factoring in Han's expenses and salary. She didn't like letting him sit in jail in Miami, but she wasn't in the position to bail him out. She hoped he'd understand. There were other issues with the failed operation, the load. She borrowed money to cover expenses and then had essentially gone into business with Emil Rostov, a local Russian gangster who had more than 50 thugs working for him in and around Amsterdam. But Hannah had heard that was a fraction of the men Emil's older brother Roman employed in Miami. The two were known as the Blood Brothers for reasons Hannah preferred not to think about. She had seen what happened to people who disagreed with the Rostovs: missing ears, severed fingers, and the scars from beatings. The local criminal population was a walking advertisement for why you shouldn't cross the Russian gang. One of the worst punishments Hannah had seen was meted out to a young woman who hadn't paid her tribute to the Rostovs to sell heroin to tourists and who mocked a Rostov lieutenant. Now she had Emil Rostov's initials carved in her cheeks, one letter on each side. The end of her nose was missing. The girl was a tourist attraction all by herself. Now Hannah had to explain to these same people why she couldn't make a payment on her loan. Hannah turned and saw 3 young women she employed, an administrative assistant staring at her. She understood the fear in their eyes. The loss of the kids was a major blunder. Someone on her staff was responsible. Someone had talked too much. She knew it wasn't Janie who had been with her the longest, and it wasn't Janie's sister Tassie, who was an airhead and therefore not given much responsibility. That left Lisbeth. Hannah could tell by the way Lisbeth's eyes darted around that she knew she was the focus of Hannah's rage. Lisbeth had made all the flight arrangements, so this was her fault. Now she was going to learn a lesson about owning up to one's mistakes. Hannah had rescued Lisbeth from prostitution, taught her some basic clerical skills, and given her a life without strange men accosting her every night. But Lisbeth had screwed up somehow, and Hannah couldn't have that. At 35, Hannah was a lot older than these girls. Sometimes she felt almost like their mother, and occasionally parents had to punish their kids. She started slowly. She held Lisbeth's gaze as she started walking across the hardwood floor of the enormous room to where the 20-year-old sat. Hannah said, "Lisbeth, did you hear about the cock-up in Miami?" The young woman shivered and nodded. The expression on her pixie face showed her fright against tears. "I know Hans was arrested. I don't really know anything else." Lisbeth brushed her blue-streaked brown hair out of her eyes. "Don't I pay you to know what's going on?" Hannah kept advancing. "I made the flight arrangements and ensured the kids had all the right paperwork and spent plenty of my money doing it. Now that's all gone. We have nothing to show for it. This is a business. We need cash flow, especially now. How do you think I should handle this? I I mean, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Hannah reached down, snatched the girl's long, multicolored hair, and jerked her out of the seat. The rolling office chair spun from the force of it. Hannah dragged her across the floor to the balcony. Lisbeth said over and over, "Please, I didn't do anything wrong." Hannah released her when they were both on the balcony. She said, "Who did you tell about the trip?" "No one, I swear." Hannah repeated the question slowly. "Who did you tell?" The girl started to cry. The tears made Hannah snap. She grabbed Lisbeth by the shoulders and shoved her so that she was dangling over the brass railing of the balcony. Hannah held on to her belt, leaving the girl suspended but upside down, 6 stories above the cobblestone sidewalk. Hannah said again, "Who did you tell about the trip? Was it the Russians? Did you speak to the police? You better start talking, or the last sound out of you will be a scream on your short trip to the ground." She relaxed her grip so the girl slipped a little bit more. Lisbeth was crying and screaming now. "I swear I didn't tell anyone." She begged for mercy, then mumbled several Hail Marys and another short prayer some priest had probably told her would protect her. And he was wrong. That is the end of this chapter. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.